Welcome to AnalyticsGPT, the video series, episode 2, a collaboration between AGORACOM and Datametrex AI. Why are we doing this series? Well, as artificial intelligence takes the world by storm and investors research public companies in the hopes of finding the next great AI company, it'll become critical to separate pretender AI companies from those that are actually delivering real AI solutions right now. Datametrex AI is just one of those companies, having delivered cutting-edge AI solutions to both governments and enterprise companies around the world, including the Canadian government, the Canadian Armed Forces, U.S. Department of Defense, NATO, and on the corporate side, the likes of Samsung, Ford, and even Korean conglomerate Lotte, and many, many more. So in order to help understand, small cap investors understand both AI and Datametrex's AI successful deployment, we're pleased to announce that we're collaborating on this AnalyticsGPT, the video series, a multi-video series that features insightful discussions with CEO Marshall Gunter. You see him on the screen right there. He's a renowned AI expert as we explore the fascinating world of artificial intelligence while unveiling the company's groundbreaking AnalyticsGPT offering, which empowers users to interact with AI models effortlessly, including individuals like us from diverse backgrounds, allows them to harness the power of AI without specialized expertise, and that's really, really big. Marshall, welcome back to AnalyticsGPT episode 2. Our first installment was so successful that investors have been demanding the second installment for a couple of weeks now. Safe to say the first one was a hit?
Oh, I think so. I mean, we got a lot of great feedback from that first one as people are looking to see what we can and cannot do with this thing, especially all the new features that we're bringing in and some of the GPT tech we're bringing in. So I'm sure your Twitter feeds have been blowing up because ours have too. And now we're ready to show off a little more of the software. So stick around and you'll see some of it.
All right, that's exciting. That's what we've been waiting for. Before we get into that, first things first, what's the status of AnalyticsGPT right now?
Well, right now the team is, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, putting some last minute touches on the interfaces, making sure that things scale well, etc. So we expect to launch this product coming up in the next few weeks, and we're going to announce that very soon. So, but right now, a little bit of polish, a little bit of this, and it's going to be ready to go. We're right at the finish line.
And it makes sense not to be releasing it here at the end of August, right before Labor Day, when everyone's really focusing on their last barbecues, right? Their last pool parties, and they're really, their whole head's not in the game. So after Labor Day and into September, that's when everything gets going. We're going to see the full launch there, but can you give us a little tidbit on what we can expect from the launch, just a little bit?
Sure. No, you're spot on with the timing. As I said, right now we're entering the commercialization phase of the product. So, we're testing at a commercial scale, meaning, some of these LLMs, large language models, and, the most famous one right now being ChatGPT, they take a lot of horsepower and it's new tech. So we want to ensure that the tech that we have, the hardware we have, et cetera, can handle the loads that are going to come in. And those loads are significant. This type of technology is something that basically humanity's never seen before. And so, yeah, it's new to everybody. So, we just want to make sure that that all worked. And with the launch, though, we are going to be launching with multiple different models. And that's interesting. Not models in the LLM sense, but pricing models and scaling models, right? Because AnalyticsGPT at its heart is designed to open up things. So, we're not only going to be dealing with large enterprises, large governments, and some of the people that you've talked about previously in the intro and stuff. We're also going to be able to open this up to, small and medium businesses and other people that previously lacked the horsepower, the capabilities, or, just the in-house resources to take advantage of things like Datametrex's AI and the analytics that we include with our platforms like Nexa Intelligence and Nexa Smart. Now, moving along with this launch, we will continue the series here, and we're going to be talking about it, and we're going to be bringing videos and demonstrations of what the software can do, and we're going to be showing those to you live right here on AGORACOM. In addition to that, you're going to start seeing some videos coming out, instructional style videos. Those will go on the web for people that are using the product and for
Nice.
people that want to see what the product can do. I mean, there's no reason to talk about it. We're just going to show it. So expect those videos to go up, demonstrations, etc. And later on, we'll also be able to, run some demos, hands-on demos, things that people can actually put their fingers on and see what's going on, what Analytics GPT can do, and they can view it for themselves. They'll be able to go to a web browser and just, take a spin around, see how things work, and, look for themselves.
I got to tell you, and I'm pumped about that because AGORACOM's already adopting AI pretty strongly internally. We're leaning heavily on ChatGPT for now, for example, but I realized as we went through all that, man, you need a lot of expertise. It's one thing to put into ChatGPT, what is my astrology sign or something and whatever, but if you want real easy to understand data, a good amount of data, it's hard. You gotta be a prompt engineer. So that's why I can't wait to see what Analytics GPT is, because that's all about making it easier for us, right? Now, if you achieve your goal, how are you going to scale? So if everyone's looking at it and they're excited about it and they say, this is the next best thing, how do you scale that? Because like you said, it takes up a lot of bandwidth, and it's going to pull a lot of resources. What's your plan on how to keep up with scale?
Well, scale comes in two varieties. So, and those two varieties are, like marketing and awareness and tech. So
Right.
you alluded to the tech just a minute ago. So let's talk about the tech first, okay, and what our plan is for scaling the tech. So what we said earlier is exactly the first part of the scaling. We've been looking at load. We've been seeing now how things react when thousands of people hit these models, et cetera. And we've been working with the tech team to ensure that we've got the capabilities to bring in the load that we need to bring in. Now, in addition to that, we're going to be doing some staggered releases, and this will kind of bleed into the marketing bit a bit, but they're tied together. So the biggest, the people that put the most load on the system come in two varieties. The first variety is what we call power users, and everybody has this. These are the governments, these are the large enterprises, et cetera, that use the software constantly. Multiple times an hour, they're putting through queries, they're investigating things, they're doing this on a regular basis. They have people involved, 24/7. This is all they do is data analysis. The next type that puts load is when you get thousands and thousands of people all at the same time.
Yeah.
Now that's a different kind of load.
A bunch of Georges.
That type of load is well known throughout the tech world, especially, we've seen loads that we never could comprehend, 20 years ago with the advent of social media, right? Because now there's load like that everywhere. So we're not overly concerned with the millions and millions of people coming in and web load and things like that. We are a bit concerned about the load on the language models and some of the other back end pieces. And so in order to gauge that in real world situations, there'll be a staggered release. So we'll release to certain groups first, certain groups next, demos next, et cetera. And as we open each gate, we'll judge the load, we'll see where it is, we'll make adjustments as necessary, and then we'll come back. So it's pretty typical tech rollout, pretty standard, et cetera. But like I said earlier, we're dealing with models that nobody's ever dealt with before. We're dealing with tech nobody's ever dealt with before at this scale. So we're going to take a measured approach like everybody else and see what happens. Now, the second piece of scaling that we talked about is marketing.
Yeah.
So scaling up the marketing. And what you said just a minute ago makes a lot of sense. And that's why we're doing things the way we are. August is a dead month in a lot of the world, including, Europe and East Asia and some of the other markets that we operate in. Everybody's going back to school, et cetera. So our marketing and our awareness campaigns are all going to be scaling up in the next few weeks. Our primary strategies focus around directly targeting market segments that can harness the power of data analytics platforms like this. And so we're going to go out with digital marketing campaigns, targeted marketing efforts aimed at these different segments, small and medium enterprises. And the idea behind this is to maximize exposure and awareness to the people that can actually put this stuff into use. In addition to that, we're participating with some on-air television segments that are going to be rolling out and filmed this fall.
Wow.
Yeah, they're going to be amplifying the reach to the markets even further. Uh, and in addition to that, we're also engaging in direct interactions with different companies, et cetera, that have expressed interest. And we will be running those demos with them and with anybody else that's interested. And in addition to that, like I said earlier, there'll be demos that the public can access also. So those are the marketing strategies that we're using to scale. Those are the tech strategies that we're using to scale. And I think that we'll see how they work, but they've been proven effective in the past. So we have no reason to believe that they won't be effective this time.
And on the digital marketing side specifically, but for all of marketing, but especially there, you're almost going to have an unfair advantage, right? Because you're going to be able to use Analytics GPT to almost tell you how you should be doing your marketing to some extent, correct?
Well, we are definitely eating our own dog food. Now you let the cat out of the bag, but yeah, absolutely. Now there's no way in the world we wouldn't be using this internally. We've been using this internally for some time now. We're going to continue to do so.
Well, buddy, I'm excited because, like I said, I hope AGORACOM is in that first group, who's invited to come in, because I am anxious to get my hands on it, especially because you're in the family as well. So I want to put it through its paces and just be able to go tell the world, hey, this is blowing me away and here's why. You know what I mean? Now, I know why I got to use it. I know that, but most businesses don't. So for those who are watching right now or listening, wherever the case may be, and why do businesses need it? What are some of the top reasons why businesses need Analytics GPT, AI in general, but Analytics GPT specifically?
Okay, so let's talk to those, in the two sections that you outlined. So AI in general. This is going to be a very broad sweeping statement, so these will be short. This is my personal opinion. I think if you don't engage with AI and if you don't do it within, the next 6 months or so, you're just getting left behind. It's that simple. You're going to get outran. There's no doubt in my mind. What AI is going to do, especially initially, is going to enhance the productivity of workers. They're going to be using AI to produce more and more and more with less and less effort. So especially in the data analytics field where we are, and you're going to see some of this, we've been able to cut times down from weeks down to minutes in certain cases.
Yeah.
And that leads me into the next piece. So why do you need to use it? Well, speed, that's another one. Decision making, that's another one. Time to market, that's another one. And the most important one, something we've been working on a very long time on these products, is time to insight. So what does that mean? Time to insight. Well, that means the time it takes you to discover something that you didn't know, to figure out how to deal with it, and then to act on it. Okay. Now,
that could
depending
take
on
weeks or months in the traditional way. Literally, you don't even know what you're looking for half
Yep.
the time. But even if you do, at the very least, that would take you weeks before Analytics GPT came along.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're going to see that in just a bit. We'll see an example where it takes weeks. Weeks is definitely what you're looking at as far as those types of inquiries are concerned. And what we're doing is we've taken several of the most time-consuming tasks that go into those weeks of uncovering the insights, and we've shortened that down to minutes, and a couple hours in the worst-case scenario. But what that allows you to do is get way ahead of those insights. So instead of going, hey, I'm going to figure out how to enter this new market, for instance, let me get a team, let me get a data analyst, let me put them all in a room. You guys owe me a report in 2 weeks. Then we're going to talk to marketing. Then we're going to talk to the money guys, and we're going to figure out how to do this. Nope. What's going to happen if you're using AI and you're using products like Analytics GPT? You're going to take your marketing guy, you're going to say, hey, we want to do this. The marketing guy is going to walk over there and he's going to all right, I'll be back with 6 different proposals tomorrow. And then we're going to figure out how to do it. And we're ready to go. That's the type of power we're talking about here. So if you're not on those bandwagons, the stuff you're going to miss out on and the things that Analytics GPT can really help you improve, in addition to random business objectives like that, market expansion, definitely brand recognition. Is your ad campaign working? I don't want to wait 2 weeks. I want to make adjustments now before I spend $12 million in the next 2 weeks trying to figure out that my ad campaign is borked and I've got all the wrong information and the wrong targets in it. Let's change course now. Let's figure it out now. Personal protection, that's another one. But as I was saying, in the data analytics industry, time to insights is the most critical piece. Now, in fact, in one survey, with Dimensional Research, they did a survey. Over 500 data professionals were surveyed. More than 60% came back and said the number one thing that they were doing that they just did not like was trying to find out what data resources they should be trying to use at the moment, what data they should be pulling in, and how in the world should they validate that, right? This slows down their productivity tenfold. 90% of these respondents said that this had happened to them within the past 12 months. With AnalyticsGPT, that's exactly one of the problems that we've been solving. And we've got a solution to it. And even more fun is we're going to look at that particular solution to that particular problem in just a minute. So, to summarize that, why do you need it? You need it because if you don't have it, everybody else is going to have it, and you're going to be left behind. So if you want to keep up in today's, fast, rapidly expanding world, and you want to be able to identify new market segments, identify threats to your brand or promotions that are working or things that your competitors are doing, and how they're doing it, why they're doing it, who they're reaching, the audience they're looking at, etc. We don't have weeks, we don't have months, we need it in hours. So that's why you need it.
Hey, so Marshall, one great thing I can say right now is, as you know, as all everyone watching, listening knows, one thing obviously neither you or I can do on these Zooms is advise people to buy stock, give financial advice, and all that. So we're not doing that now. But one thing I can 100% give hard advice on to every small, medium, enterprise level business owner that's watching or listening to this right now is look for that AnalyticsGPT launch and do whatever you got to do to sign up for that as fast as possible. Maybe there's going to be a little free thing. Maybe there's going to be a small, medium, big package. I don't care. Whatever it is, you got to do this, because I know what the impact of AI has been inside of AGORACOM. And, we've had to do that the long, slogging way, prompt engineering through ChatGPT. A lot of people don't even understand what that means, I bet you. But AnalyticsGPT, from what I'm hearing, I can't wait to see it, is going to be immensely useful to people, like you said, who don't have to have the expertise. So that's all I can give you all that advice right now. And based on that, Marshall, seeing is believing. I've always said that before a lot of times. Seeing is believing. So you got some things that you want to show us. You got some screen shares for us. So I'm handing over screen share to you. Why don't you go right ahead there and show us what you got.
Okay, George. So what we're going to look at here, we talked about cutting down the data analysis and the gathering of data, getting the proper data, et cetera, just a few minutes ago. So I want to show you an example of how that works and why it's important. All right. So here's what was going on. Now, this is a real world example. Can you see my screen with the lead up to the Ukraine war
narratives?
That's right. So this is a little over a year ago, as you can see, started in February. Now, the idea behind this was, hey, we need to see what's going on inside the Ukraine. We need to know, what people are talking about, what the narratives are, what do people believe? So the data analysts went in, and on February 4th, they started looking for mentions of the Canada and Russia and the Ukraine, different hashtags across different platforms in a couple different languages, right? So Ukrainian and English. Okay, fine. So data's collected. The data analyst goes through the data, looks at it and says, you know what? Not exactly what I was looking for. And this is truly important right here. If you don't get this step right, nothing else works. And you're seeing this inside ChatGPT right now, where you're seeing articles start coming out about wrong answers, 50% of the answers are wrong, et cetera. I don't want to quote any things like that because it's an amazing product and it really works. But like I said, we're at the threshold, and accuracy is extraordinarily important, especially in very, very critical situations like this. So the data analyst has to go back and look again. That took, in this case, 6 days. 6 days. And they realized, wait a minute, we missed French, Russian, and German. And why are these important? Well, these are the major languages in Europe. right? So, no Russian, no German, no French, that's a problem. And so they said, well, let's expand the search to that. Okay, rinse and repeat. We're here another week later, February 17th. Then they had to expand the stuff they were looking for. Okay, so different keyword searches, different types of information that they're trying to gather, etc. Start to end, before they could actually start pulling insights in. And this is very typical, whether this is, a government looking for information like this, or whether this is a marketing campaign trying to figure out what's going on, the lay of the land, the landscape, etc. 2 weeks. 2 weeks, just data analysis. Now the analysis can start to bring out the insights. Well, what can you do about that? Well, let's stop sharing this for a second and let's go look. Well, we can use AI to really speed up this process. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go take a quick look at something, let's say Canadian housing, right? Because that's in the news. There's a lot of people talking about housing in Canada right now. So if I'm the data analyst, I'm going to go and find what's going on with Canadian housing. So let's take a look. So right here, we're going to do our initial dip. We're going to start looking about Canada housing. And let's look up the topic. Now, while that's running, I've got one that's already ran right here.
Because that would take initial pass, right? If you did that all live, that would take a few minutes, right?
Yeah, generally that first step, that first pass takes about 15 minutes. And the reason it takes about 15 minutes is in order for the AI model to do an analysis and make some suggestions, they need the data, right? So it goes out, it starts collecting enough data to do the initial pass of the analysis.
Facebook, headlines, things like that, right?
Yeah, whatever. Yep, from wherever you've chosen your data sources, and it's going to gather that data. This is a limiting step. Generally, 98% of the use cases we see, it's about a 15-minute thing. If you go looking for something that's extraordinarily active, it may take longer than that as it gathers a little bit more information, or something that's extraordinarily sparse as it tries to find something, it may take a little longer. But like I said, 15 minutes, 98% of the time.
Better than 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So what do we see?
What's it done?
It's giving you some alternatives. Canada's housing crisis, opening doors to immigrants. It's giving you some different options there, right?
Absolutely. This is the exact same scenario we just saw with the Ukrainian crisis. So we did our initial dip in the Ukrainian model and with a data analyst. And currently, how this works inside businesses and people doing data analytics is the human has to go in and start digging through all of this. We don't have to do that anymore. We can do this. And like I said, about 15 minutes, the AI comes back and it's saying, look, you asked for Canadian housing. That's a pretty broad topic. What would you think about these topics? Do you want to drill down further? Do you want to make sure we're capturing the right information? Here are the things that we suggest based on the data that we have seen and what's currently happening in the world. And you're seeing it here. Canada's housing crisis. Are we opening the door to immigrants? Just Canada housing crisis. Would you like to continue with that? Canadian political crises in the housing. Here, we're specifically referencing Ford's Greenbelt housing policy in Canada. Canada's housing crisis and immigration, again. So these are the major themes that we're seeing within Canadian housing today. And as the data analyst is going through this, you can click, you can see summaries, it'll tell you, hey, this is what we're doing inside here. This is what opening doors to immigrants means. Here's the summary of the situation. Here's some examples of different pieces and different posts that we've pulled from the web that you can see if you would like to look at that. Here's a few of the words we found. Here's some of the publishers. So this information is more detailed and allows the analyst to drill down and decide which sections of the data they actually are interested in. So again,
and if they want that, then they can actually drill down on that, right? Say, yeah, this is
even
it.
Further.
They can go down on that.
Yep. Yeah. So, and you're not limited to one of these. You can accept, reject, take them all, take 3, take 2. It doesn't matter. We can add whichever ones of these in. We can add, remove them, etc. And I want to point out this works too, both ways. So if your query is too big, like I mentioned earlier, this will help drill it down. That's what we're looking at here, and that's 90% of the examples we see overextended queries. So you get way too much information. And so everything's lost in the wash.
Yeah. You don't want to get
This
buried in the
allows you,
Library of Congress, like they say. That you don't want to do that
nope,
to yourself.
nope. And this is why it takes weeks, because you got to drill through all this stuff, right? And it takes forever. But if you've got analysis tools like AnalyticsGPT, we can do it in minutes. And you're seeing it here right now. So just select the pieces you want, and then the computer's going to find it for you. And if you've got to go back and do this 3 or 4 times in this particular tool, you can if you want to, and then just rinse, repeat. It's up to you how much or how specific you want to drill down to, or how broad you want to get this. And where with the discovery functions that are in here, it's going to show you things that you never thought about before. Crisis and immigration, greenbelt housing policies. Were these on your mind, or were you just actually looking for Zillow? I'm not sure. Now,
what I like about this is I don't have to be a prompt engineer. And for those people who don't know what that means is, if you really want to get great information out of ChatGPT right now, you almost have to be an engineer, prompt engineer. You have to be scientific about what you ask it in order to get the best possible response. But sometimes you don't know exactly what you're looking for, generally. So what I like about with Analytics GPT, it looks like I can ask broadly, and then Analytics GPT is going to give me the suggestions of where I should drill down, right? That's a big advantage if I'm reading that right. Correct, Marshall?
Absolutely. And that's one of the biggest advantages that this particular piece of the software brings, is that you really don't have to be a data analyst. You just kind of got to broadly know what's going on, and then let the AI lead you where you need to go. And you'll get there. It's going to happen. 98% of the time, this thing's right first pass.
Well,
that's been my experience with it.
ChatGPT beyond the basics of tell me something basic, because they don't know how to engineer the questions, right? So Analytics GPT solves that.
Yep. And even the data analysts don't exactly know how to engineer the questions at the first pass, especially with new and emerging things like we saw with the Ukrainian crisis. We were mentioning earlier. We haven't seen that before. This is not like a well-oiled marketing campaign that we run every, once a year, like McDonald's McRib sandwich, right? They bring that thing back once a year. They run 2 months of marketing spend, and they sell tons of McRibs. Rinse, repeat, been doing it for 20 years or however long.
Well, it's a new topic, something hot, whether it's politics, whether it's a product, whether it's a show.
That's right.
People don't know what to look for exactly. You're telling them, here are the different kinds of conversations with weight that are taking place around GeorgeCom, right? That's what you're doing.
Absolutely.
You're saying, wow, I didn't know that was a hot topic about GeorgeCom. Let me click on that.
Now, one other neat thing about this that most people probably haven't considered up to this point is the ongoing application of a tool like this. So you just saw, for instance, how long it took a military grade data analyst to get the right data in that they wanted to look at. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. These are the best data analysts in the world. They don't get any better than this. 2 weeks. That being said, we can do this in less than an hour. No problem. But what do you do as things evolve? You were speaking to emerging things, new things. These things are going to change. Well, the software can keep working for you behind the scenes as they do change. You can apply this same piece of software over and over and over again. So as the data changes, it can then continue to follow, reapply, identify new topics that are coming up, things that you haven't seen before, do that discovery for you,
Marshall,
and then alert you to it.
Background over weeks. Once I do a GeorgeCom analysis today, it'll kind of in the background do it. So if I come back to it 3 months from now, it'll say, by the way, here's what's going on around GeorgeCom. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. It'll bring these to your attention again and say, hey, here's some new stuff that you guys have not considered. Maybe you should consider it. And those new items, are right there. All you got to do is boot it up, fire up the tool, hit go, and it'll do it again. Straight on the same data set that we were talking about. New things. This is not a static analysis. It's an ongoing analysis, can be applied at any time.
Buddy, I
Now,
can't wait. I'm telling you, look, because I've got good experience with it. I just did a 2-hour training session with my team on Thursday about how we're, what we're doing, all the prompts, and it took us a long time to create all that. So it sounds like I should have waited a little bit longer and
well,
used
hey, you're
analytics
right
GPT,
in.
but well, I'll have the advantage of that soon enough. But
There's one other thing I wanted to talk about. Now, we haven't talked about this before, but one other thing that is coming inside Analytics GPT, and a lot of people have been asking me about, is some emotion detection. Now, previously, you've heard us talk about this in the news, and this has been going on since about 2018 or so. And we have been applying our artificial intelligence and analytics in suicide prevention. Okay. Now, this is a very, very touchy subject. Okay. And a lot of the work that we do in this field and a lot of things like that require proprietary information, personally identifiable information, and other things like that that aren't readily available to most businesses. And even if they are, you're not allowed to use them anyway in a lot of jurisdictions. There's a lot of restrictions around medical records and things
sure,
like
of
that.
course, no doubt.
Yeah. That being said, we have felt that the power that we have inside these tools is very relevant. And I'm proud to say, and I'm proud to show you in just a second, that we're bringing a version of that tool that works without that. So inside Analytics GPT, you're also going to have our emotion detecting units that will work without that personalized medical information or any of the other PII that say the suicide prevention and stuff require to function properly. So what's that going to do for you? Well, it's going to allow you to figure out how people are reacting to your marketing campaigns, how people are reacting to your ads, how people are reacting to you. In addition, how people feel about, say, subject matter. Let's take a look at this one. We talked about Canada Housing. Let me just grab Canada Housing right
So
now.
you're using the same technology same thing they do for suicide prevention. We're not looking at that, but we're applying it to how people feel about Canada's housing situation.
Yeah. Now, can you see this?
Yep, I see it.
Okay. So what we've done is we've taken the suicide prevention model that previously, we've discussed multiple times, and we've brought this down to a more usable model that the average person can use. So, this is going to it's going to frame things in terms of emotions and reactions that people can readily understand, like joy and love and optimism and anger and fear. Whereas, previous tooling, a little more complex. Now, we're going to include the more complex tooling later on in the product and expect more information from that.
Wow,
That
this is
being
complex
said,
as it is. I can't believe there's going to be more.
this is the simple one. So the complicated tools break emotions down into more than 2,000 facets. That's very useful for a psychologist. It's not useful for a marketing department.
Right.
But like here, let's look at this. We talked about Canadian housing and non-judgmentally, the biggest piece in here, anger. Imagine that.
Yeah, so look at that red
tons and
on
tons
the pie chart and on the graph. It just dominates.
Yeah, there is anger everywhere about this subject. And you know what? Anecdotally, that tells me it's doing what it needs to do because I haven't heard anything about it except anger and frustration from just about everybody. Anyway, I thought I would just like to share that with everybody, with our investors, with the people that are looking at this product. In fact, that we are doing everything we can to make this the best product available on the market, and we're bringing everything to bear in this product.
I love it's not
more,
just information, that it's also going to be sentiment. You're calling emotion, I'm calling it sentiment, but you're right. I mean, it's got, you had about 12 different emotions on there. It wasn't just happy or sad, right? It wasn't just angry or happy. You had about 12 different emotions there. That's a fantastic tool if somebody wants to find out about their brand, about their person, about a topic. That's a powerful tool, man. And that's a marketing tool for you, isn't it, Marshall? Like, for example, when Analytics GPT launched, you could, if you wanted to, use that graph, put out a press release and say, the Canadian citizens overwhelmingly feel angry and sad about, and here's our graph, here's our pie chart, and here's how we got the data. So you could use that in your marketing if you want to. It's a great way to show off what you can do.
Absolutely. Now, two things just to end up with on the emotions. Number one, with a tool like this, and as fast as this thing works, You can prevent disaster. Bud Light should have been talking to me before they started running ad campaigns that
That's a
destroyed their
great
brand. Those guys didn't know their brand was destroyed until their brand was destroyed, right? And I'm not judging here about why it was destroyed. Don't care. That's not our business. Our business is just to tell you, you're going to destroy your brand right now. And we could have found that out with about an hour or two within those ad campaigns launching by focusing in on those ad campaigns, finding out who was talking about it, using the query analysis tooling we saw earlier to make sure that we got the exact right data, and then looking at this chart. And then we could have gone in there and told them, cut it off right now. That'd have been the best thing you could have done. That being said, it is what it is for those guys. Not that, we could do anything about it, but hey, there's a great use case right there where we could have applied this and then possibly save them a lot of money. It's very probable. And I'd love to engage with that. Second thing,
you can use that again. You can use that for Datametrex. Sorry, before we go on to the second thing. So Datametrex is a press release or your quarterly financials, your annuals, or a big contract or something like that. And you can start to gauge the emotion behind it and how people feel, right?
That's right. But I just want to zero in on this real quick. Why is this any different from a lot of the other analysis tools that are on the market? We're talking about, emotional analysis. So sentiment analysis in tech and in text has been around for a long time. Now, generally sentiment analysis has gone from, like good to bad between, +1 and -1. So +1 being everybody loves it, and -1 being everybody hates it. And there's a scale in between about, hey, how much do people love it versus how much do people hate it? That's traditional sentiment, right? This particular piece has been developed over the years in conjunction, with intelligence operations and other people that are way more demanding than, +1 to -1. They need to know, what does it mean to be angry? What does it mean to be fearful? Not just, okay, somebody's mad. So these particular nuances are broken down into, like I said earlier, over 2,000 different facets. And what we're doing here is we're taking that experience, that knowledge, and we're rolling that up into a product that everybody can use. So accuracy is extraordinarily important. And if you get it wrong, you're going to have a problem. And that's the reason, that we are developing these tools. And that's the reason we're putting these tools out.
There's a real ROI there. There's a real impact on your business. There's a real impact on how much marketing dollars you're spending on something, or should you be spending more because everyone's happy? Should you be spending less because the emotions are telling you that people are receiving it the wrong way? Marshall, I want this yesterday, buddy. I am so pumped, and I can tell everybody that I want this yesterday. That's how much I'm looking forward to the launch of AnalyticsGPT, my friend.
Well, hey, stay tuned right here, and you guys will be in the front door before you know it. And the next thing, for the next interviews, we're going to show off a few more pieces of it, including the summary engines. So you can see some of the reports that this thing spits out and some of the insights that it spits out. And that's going to come much sooner than the interval between the first interview and the second interview. So expect that very soon.
Yeah. And by the way, for everyone at home, it wasn't Marshall's fault. I was on vacation. It was a little hard to pin me down because I was popping in between Greek beach towns. So, the hit is on me, but it's August. It's the last weekend of August here. And this is amazing information for all of us to take into the long weekend next week, have time to absorb, and look forward to the next one, Marshall. Buddy, I thank you for doing this. It's been fantastic. And what I love about it is not just the product, because I've raved about that enough of what I see. It's the way you explain it to everybody. Because I read about AI all the time. I understand most of it. It goes over most people's heads. You could go over everybody's head, especially mine, if you wanted to. But instead, you just give real, practical examples and benefits that we can all relate to. So when we stop watching or listen to this, we can all go away and say, hey, I might use AnalyticsGPT that way or that way. It can help me with this or it can help me with that. And that's what's the magic behind this, buddy. And I thank you for that, man.
Not at all. That's the idea, is we're trying to bring the power of AI to those small and medium businesses and to other enterprises and divisions within those big enterprises that don't have the resources we're talking about in the military grade data analytics and this type of stuff. So, that's the goal. You know, a lot like Blizzard in the video game industry, let's take the complex, let's make it simple, and let's give it to people and empower them. That's what we're doing, and that's what Analytics GPT is all about.
Can't wait to see more on our next episode 3. And I can't wait for the launch, my friend. Have a great weekend. And for everybody at home, thanks for joining us on the AGORACOM Datametrex AI Analytics GPT video series episode 2. That's a wrap. If you're seeing this one for the first time, then look for episode 1. And if you're seeing this later, a couple of weeks from now, a couple months from now, and this 2, look for 3. All right. So bottom line is, if you like this one, look for the rest of the series. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. See you next time. Hey guys, the video's over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and even leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our YouTube channel so you never miss another great AGORACOM small cap video.